Hey guys, Obligatory Worm here today to talk about our obligatory controversial topic, which is 3-peeking or third-person peeking in Destiny 2 today. So for those of y'all who may not be aware, 3-peeking or third-person peeking, I'm going to refer to it as 3-peeking for the rest of this video just because it's easier and shorter. But 3-peeking is basically the act of going behind some kind of cover, so like a corner, a wall, a bush, like anything you can find, and doing a emotes, pulling out a sword, doing a class, ability, like anything that can actually make your player go into third person and getting an advantageous view around that cover without actually exposing yourself to danger. Okay, and that's what third person peeking is. Now, first of all, I want to talk about the reason why I wanted to do this, because my wife and I are playing Iron Banner, and she likes to, unlike me, she likes to actually add people that, add her, because she likes to respond to hate mail. She likes to, she likes to read cringy messages and stuff like that. And so after a game on Widow's Court, some dude sends her a message and is like, hey, in a much more concise and kinder version, basically called her a bad player because she was using third person peeking. She was 3-peeking around the corner. And so it got me thinking, like, why do players have such an issue with this? Or why do some players have such an issue with this? And I say this because I've seen tons of YouTube videos of YouTubers and streamers. I'm sure we've all seen it. The title is, dominating a 3-peeking or teabagging team, third person peeking teabagging team, something like that, along those lines. And you watch the video and the YouTuber, the streamer is like, oh my god, like they're 3-peeking, like that's so annoying, blah 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 blah. But at the same time, I don't have an issue with it. Okay, I do it sometimes. Obviously my wife does it. I'm sure that many of you who watch this video will have done it at some point or probably still do it. And I don't think it's an issue. And that might be a hot take, but let me explain my reasoning for why I do not think it's an issue. Starting off with like the obvious reason, Trials of Osiris and competitive playlists, which are the two playlists where, having a fair fair is a very loose term here, but having a balanced, fair environment, again, loose terms for balanced and fair, but an environment where your rank really does matter. In competitive, your rank matters. In trials, like your wins do matter. You cannot 3-peek around corners. Bungie had disabled that a long time ago, like several seasons ago. So you can't run up to that that wall or that planter box or that bush or that corner, whatever, use an emote and peek around it. You can't pull a sword out and peek around it unless you have sword ammo, of course. I think you can use a class ability and still do it, but of course you can't, class abilities are quick one and done. You get about 2 seconds to look around the wall and then that's it, versus just standing there with an emote and just literally watching somebody from the safety of the corner, the bush, whatever you're behind, right? But it's not in those high priority, those game modes where it's high stakes. And I could end the video right there and say, hey, it doesn't matter if you 3-peek or not, because the only place to 3-peek is in quick play or maybe Iron Banner, where your wins and your losses don't really matter. Like Iron Banner, you're still getting the same amount of rank, if you lose a game, or I think you get less rank, but you're still gaining rank if you lose a game. You're still getting rewards if you lose a game. There's no, you don't lose rank in Iron Banner for losing a game. You don't, ruin your Iron Banner card or whatever. And so I don't see an issue, in that regard, because obviously, when it was in trials, yes, it could have been frustrating, right? Whenever it was, in comp, when you could do that, it could have been frustrating. However, I was not frustrated about it back then. I'm still not frustrated about it now. And let me explain my reasoning. Okay. Number one, Bungie has developed a game, a fun game where the balance is really, really off, right? Somebody using an Adept Immortal with target lock, rangefinder, ricochet rounds or accurized rounds, and full bore on M&K with 3-strand targeting, unflinching stranding, blah blah blah. All this stuff is going to be so much more powerful than somebody who's using even a not God rolled immortal, right? Like the balance of the game is not present. Okay, there's no balance. Okay, there's some balance, but there are clear metas, there are clear outliers to weapons and stuff like that. However, there is one thing that is balanced. That's the ability to 3-peek. Everybody can 3-peek. Okay, everybody can. You're a Titan, Hunter, Warlock, you can do it. You know, if you have a God roll immortal, if you have a, if you're using a blue freaking bow that you just got, you can 3-peek around the corner. It is consistent, and it is consistently available to every single player. Okay, I find that many of the players that complain and talk smack on people who use 3-peeking as a strategy are the players who dwell in the meta, who use the target lock range finder immortals, stuff like that. And they say, oh, like it's not fair that I got outplayed because he was 3-peeking around the corner when I'm using something like Rat King at 25 meters and their SMG can dome me, and I can't even hit a crit on him, right? It doesn't make sense. 3-peeking is the one thing that every player has the ability to do that gives them a combat advantage. It does, and yes, sometimes maybe there's an advantage to it. I would almost argue that there's not, and we'll talk about why in just a minute. But 3-peeking is something that every player can do, every player can employ to help themselves in combat. Okay, whether you've got you're the best PvP player in existence, or you are brand new to the game, you just learn how to play, you're still learning how to play, whatever it might be, 3-peeking is consistently available and anyone can do it, right? So players that are coming out here and they're complaining like, oh, like 3-peeking cheap cheese, blah, blah, blah. How is it cheesier to third-person peek around a corner where an enemy knows where you are and knows what you're doing than to use something like a target lock rangefinder immortal with like almost pinpoint accuracy, with the max range roll that you can get, and you're on MNK, so you can get consistent crits, blah blah blah, whatever it is. Like what's the difference there? Okay, it kind of beckons to the whole thing with Lemonarch and Jotun. Like people say, oh, these are cheesy weapons, I hate dying to them and stuff like that. Like, do you not think that it's annoying to die to the immortal 12 times over, because there's almost nothing you can do against it if you're playing against somebody who is very, very skilled with the weapon? Okay, and that's I think a lot of players like tie it back into skill. Well, it doesn't take skill to third-person peek around corners. Exactly. So why aren't you doing it? The only reason players are not 3-peeking is because their morale, or I'm sorry, their morals, not their morale, their morals. Like, oh, like I don't like being 3-peeked again, so I'm not gonna 3-peek on this team, or blah blah blah, whatever it is. It's like it doesn't matter. Like if other players can use it against you, you should use it against other players. If you're gonna use a target lock immortal, blah blah blah, whatever against me, why should I not be able to use something that I'm very good with, or something that's very good against you? That's kind of my thoughts behind it. But it's available for all players to use, right? That's kind of the first thing I want to talk about. The second thing, sorry, I got something in my eye. The second thing though is 3-peeking is not some godly advantage, wall hacks, blah blah blah. Like, here's the thing, like if you're behind a corner and you're 3-peeking, you see where the enemy is exactly, blah blah, where they're moving, what they're using, blah blah blah. They know exactly where you are. And if they pay attention to the feed, which you should be paying attention to the feed if you're playing Destiny 2, you can see, oh, hey, like, I just shot Hamster Man and he ran around the corner and it immediately said Hamster Man is dancing. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that he's sitting there, and that radar doesn't move. The radar just blips. Maybe he crouches. Maybe, he crouches. All of a sudden it's pinging back and forth. You're still like, people know you're there. Like as a player, like, if you are truly a good Crucible player and somebody goes around the corner, you will notice when they start to 3-peek, and you'll notice if they move or not. And sure, yeah, oh, they can go around the corner and heal, or they know if I'm coming at them with a shotgun, blah, 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 like whatever it is. But at the same time, like they're at the disadvantage, if you shoot them, for example, and you get them injured, oh, well, they're at the disadvantage that they are weak, And here's the next thing. the whole shotgun idea. Okay, so somebody, because I know somebody's gonna think about it, somebody's gonna say, hey, it's not fair that I spawned in and I saw there was red up there, so I wanted to go shotgun rush somebody, because like I saw they're hiding in the corner, I wanted to kill them. Well, they were three peeking me, and they knew I was coming. Like, again, the radar. Number one, the radar is present. If you're sprinting up there with a shotgun, that radar is going to be lighting up like fire, right? So anybody there, whether three peeking or not, knows that you're coming. They know you're coming. 99% of players, it seems like, use shotguns in Crucible. So if I'm sitting in a corner and you're going to slide around the corner and attack me, it's basically a 50-50 on who gets the kill. 50-50 on, the pellet spread, the range of the shotgun, the archetype of shotgun, am I using a Fellwinter's Lion? Are you using a rapid fire frame? Or is it vice versa? Like, there's all these different things. Like, you can't just blame three peeking on every single death if you know somebody's three peeking you. Okay, because there's always some faults at the player's hands. I can't complain like, oh, like, this effer is using a shotgun and it's so BS because, like it just one shot killed, blah, blah, blah. Like, there's faults of my own. I shouldn't have walked around the corner so close. I should have anticipated, because so many players like to use shotguns, I should have anticipated that this dude is going to make a play with a shotgun, or same thing with, a sniper. Like, I run in front of a lane and somebody's hard scoping with a sniper. So I dodge back, get out of the way. So I'm like, well, I'll use my sniper to get him. And I walk around the corner and I get picked. It's like, it's my fault. Like, they were hard scoping. They were ready to go for the engagement. Why did I walk out there like that? It's that same kind of principle. If you know somebody's three peeking you, and you should, I literally cannot think of an instance where you wouldn't know that somebody is potentially three peeking you. And I take it back. There's the one instance where I can think of that you wouldn't know somebody's three peeking you. And even at the, I'm sorry, this play was freaking cool. Then the smoke bomb or the grenade into the smoke bomb. Sorry, I watched my own footage while I record, but you know that they're there. You see the radar pinging. Like, the only exception, I would say, like the only time like it's like, oh my god, like I walked into that, would be if a player is three peeking you, they're invisible, so that you don't see it on the radar, and you run around the corner. But in that moment, whether they were three peeking or not, you didn't see them, you didn't know they were there, you were dead. Okay, I like to use invis because you can get the drop on people. I like to use invis with Rat King because, like we talked about, Rat King is a very, very difficult weapon to use. Its stats are terrible. So using the invis to my advantage is something that I do frequently. I go invis so people can't see where I am. That way I can get, one or two shots off on them before they start shooting back, before they can switch their shotgun and rush me down, blah, 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 whatever it is. But with the, I feel like I'm getting on a tangent here with the whole idea of three peeking. Like, where somebody is, that they could be sitting there with a shotgun. They could, whether they're three peeking or not, they could have a shotgun, they could have a sword, they could have any number of things. And that they're just sitting behind the corner. You cannot be mad at them if you die to them, right? And hell, if you kill them, there's still no reason to be mad because you won the fight, And I know players gonna say, well, I'll teabag anybody who's three peeking because it's scrubby, blah, blah, blah. Let go of that ego. Three peek. It's not that big of a deal. You can't do it in the game modes where, the wins and losses actually matter. Embrace it. Everybody just embrace it. Use third person peeking. It's something that it's going to exist, and good players will not let it deter their gameplay. It's not going to make good players, have their gameplay ruined because, oh, he was three peeking. Like, no, like as a good player, you can counter it very easily by not walking around the corner, by, blah, blah, blah. And if you didn't see it coming, if you truly did not see it coming, if you thought, wow, he was three peeking me, like, number one, how would you know? But, even if he was, like, if you didn't know he was there, that's on you for either not paying attention, for invis, or if somebody's crouched or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. And just a funny thought. Like, it's the ego of Destiny players again. Like, players in Destiny think that everybody has to play like they do, and there are so many different builds and play styles in Destiny that when somebody uses something that is off meta or whatever, and they're doing well with it, players have to find any reason they can to justify why they died. You know, oh, well, I died because he's using a crutch weapon. He's using a 300 round per minute sidearm. So that's why I died. Like, no, it's again, it's a skill thing. You know, it's a skill thing. It's a positioning thing. Like, it's any number of things. It's a team shot situation. Like, you never just die because of, you know, well, sometimes you die because of lag, but like so many players I see never just own up and say, you know what, I died because I made a silly little mistake that I shouldn't have made. You know, I shouldn't have, you know, chased that guy around the corner with a shotgun, that hunter. You know, I should have known that he was going to throw a smoke bomb, jump up over my head and shotgun me from, you know, from above when I slid around the corner to try to kill him. But no, players like, oh, well, he's 3-peeking. That's why he killed me. The reason he killed me was because he's 3-peeking. No, it's not, because number one, like, you can't attack somebody while you're 3-peeking unless you have a sword, of course, with ammo, of course. You can't kill somebody when you're 3-peeking. Like, you have to actively, like, you know, like, okay, like, I gotta use my emote here, my little sweeper emote. So now I pull out a broom, and then, oh, they're coming, I've got to do something. You know, the time it takes for you to move, because it's not an instantaneous, like, my gun is ready to go. Like, you know, when you are 3-peeking, you know, you have to actively, like, stand there, watch what they're doing, pay attention to your radar so you don't get flanked, obviously, you know, and then whenever somebody comes in and they, you know, they're coming up around the corner, then you have to move to come out of the emote. But even, like, your camera zooming back into first person is not like an instantaneous thing. Like, it takes, you know, 0.2 seconds, or, you know, it's not a long time. But again, in a game where shotguns exist where you can be instantly killed, 0.2 seconds shouldn't really matter. You know, so 3-peeking is not as strong as everybody says it is, and it's something that I would strongly recommend. If you can do it, just do it, because you're never going to stop people who already do it. Let go of your morals. You know, it's the whole idea of, you know, you're in a store, you're in Walmart, for example, and the power goes off, you know, and they're understaffed, and people start stealing, you know, all kinds of stuff. Well, you know, I'm not going to steal because I'm a good person and I sleep better at night knowing that I didn't steal. Okay, that's great. I'm going to go enjoy my new, like, 85-inch TV. It's the same principle here. You know, I'm going to enjoy being able to see exactly where you are, because your morals won't allow you to do the same thing. Okay, if somebody's going to employ it, do it against them. Now, fair, if you don't want to 3-peek until somebody 3-peeks you, that's fine. You know, if you say, I'm not going to 3-peek unless I get 3-peek first, then I'll start 3-peeking, that's fine. Like, sure enough, or fair enough, but, you know, I don't know. We've kind of talked as much as I can. The main takeaway is just 3-peek. It's not that big of a deal, and it's not that strong. And if you're somebody who gets aggravated by people 3-peeking all the time, you know, oh, like, I'm so sick of people, you know, 3-peeking, and, you know, it's BS because he was peeking around the corner and that's why he killed me. Like, again, you need to really reevaluate how your thought process. You need to evaluate, like, is it actually that, or am I just mad that I died because I have a massively inflated ego and I feel like I shouldn't have died? I feel like I'm the best player in this lobby and I shouldn't have died to somebody who's using, you know, Wishbringer, the old 140 round per minute shotgun. Hey, got some news for you. You just got outplayed. Okay, you got outplayed. 3-peeking had nothing to do with it. And like I said, like, I've sat here and I've contemplated, like, okay, like, when would be a time when 3-peeking actually gave you a substantial advantage that nobody, like, you know, that wouldn't give you an advantage in any other way, and it gave you that combat advantage that was so steep that, like, it definitely allowed you to come out on top. And I literally can't think of any. Like, I thought of everything from fusion rifles, sniper rifles, shotguns, like, blah 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 blah, and I can't think of any. Okay, and, you know, and if you can think of one, of course, tell me down in the comments, because, like I said, like, I think that in any situation where 3-peeking is a thing or involved, you could have, you know, you probably just got outplayed. Okay. And I know this is a bittersweet video, and I'm sure that somebody with a massively inflated ego will watch and say, no, like, it's cheap, it's blah 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 blah, it's blah. If it's cheap, then do it. It's the same thing. It's the same thing we talked about with what is it? You know, the Rat King. Somebody messaged me about Rat King and said that I was scrubby for using Rat King. If I'm so scrubby, if I'm so, you know, if I'm crutching on a weapon, if I'm crutching on 3-peeking, why don't you do it too? That way you can show me how OP it is. I don't know, whatever, you know, we've talked for like, what, oh my God, almost 20 minutes now about this, you know, and I think that it's just, players need to chill. You know, they need to calm down with the whole, you know, oh, 3-peaking, cheeky, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. It's not that big of a deal. Go out and do it. You know, if I see you doing it, I'll probably just disengage and I'll be fine. I'm going to go about my day. Anyways, thanks for watching. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments, because this is a hot take. I'm well aware that it is a very hot take, but let me know what your thoughts on 3-peaking in the comments. Like, do you disagree with it? Do you disagree with what I said? And of course, tell me why you disagree with what I said, as to why it's not that big of a deal. And like the video if you enjoyed the video. Of course, sub for more daily Destiny content, and watch this video that you see on screen here, because for whatever reason YouTube thinks you might like it. That's it for me, guys, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye for now.